only way to start your day.
Amendment bill debate. There is a debate. It's raging on. We'll get into that in just a minute. Dennis Asecho is going to welcome you with today's proverb. He'll tell you where that's from. We'd love to get your interpretation of it.
Yeah, the proverb today comes from Ivory Coast, the country that is known for its cocoa, also produces coffee, and majority of rubber that is supplied across the world comes from the country. And one of the greatest exports as well is one Didier Drogba, to Chelsea and back. But let's go to the proverb. A single tree cannot make a forest. A single tree cannot make a forest. How would you interpret that? One blue.
Great. A single tree, the definition of a forest is a lot of trees. The name forest cannot be complete without a lot of them. So when you decide to move singly, or when you decide to move alone, you defy the definition. The same case to life. When you decide to go alone, you defy the nature and the definition of life.
Okay.
How would you interpret it?
Thank you. I concur with Boniface, and indeed, you cannot singly do something. You need a concerted effort to be able to achieve an intended goal.
Well put, well said.
Yeah.
The need and purpose of working together.
All right. Thank you for that. This morning, we're looking at a bill that is before Parliament that essentially seeks to amend the Tobacco Control Act, which came about in 2007. All right. The amendment bill, which is before the Senate, it's 35 of 2024. It wants to modernize the law to cover newer nicotine and tobacco-related products, which were not anticipated in 2007. In 2007, there were certain things which were in the tobacco space. It was clear, cigars, cigarettes, and such. But in the last 14, 15, 16 years, that has changed, and that you have more products for which the Act did not cover, right? And that is essentially what has brought about the amendment bill. It's responding to concerns around things like the use of vapes, nicotine patches, synthetic nicotine, especially amongst younger people. So the bill is seeking to amend certain things within the Act. And we're looking at sales to minors. We are looking at advertising and marketing. We're looking at regulating flavors and additives. We're looking at packaging and safety, regulation and oversight, some of these things. And it's also coming into the place where it is suggesting penalties for certain things, which people don't like. 500,000 shillings or imprisonment for up to 3 years or both for violations around synthetic nicotine, misleading advertising, which tells you, oh, come on, a vape is not so bad. You're actually not combusting anything, but you're doing okay. So they're saying, we could put you in the slammer for 3 years or ask you to pay $500,000 or both, right? And so these are some of the things that the bill is suggesting to actually then amend the Act. Some people don't like it so much. And we're asking questions as to why and where, as the debate rages on, are we going to find that sweet spot where we can say, okay, everybody can exist peaceably or peacefully. Let's start off with you. Gashoka, what's the problem here?
We support the bill. Is very good, and we support an amendment that would capture modernization, innovations, creativity, that would capture the future and the present problems. Because actually, Tobacco Act has stayed for a long time, 2007 to where we are. So we support it. The only issue is there are some issues and there are some points in the bill that we feel there need to be more stakeholders consultation. That we need to have more discussion. We need to have some scientific backed evidence into the bill. We need to involve a few of the experts that we have in the private sector and even in the business sector and even in the government sector. We need to have a sober conversation on the bill I think that is the only place where we have the issue with the bill. But we support control with reason. We support regulation, genuine and honest conversation on regulation, and also a conversation that would capture the challenges and the future challenges that we have. For example, nicotine conversation is a very new conversation that we feel it also needs regulation. Youth access is something that we also need to participate, and we need it to be captured because we are a responsible business organization that support compliance with the law. And actually, that is a major purpose and objective of Balita.
Okay. Dr. Karaoke, there are a couple of things in 2007 that didn't exist. The campaigns towards, ending or reducing significantly tobacco use because of the dangers that it posed to one who would imbibe. Was really around advertising and what you put on the packets. But then we were told later that things like patches and vaping was not so bad because we were also told that it is the combustion of a cigar or a cigarette that causes the harm. And then we saw these newer inventions and the assumption is that they're all right. Are they?
Yeah, thank you very much. Just before I answer that, I want to give a background on this tobacco control amendment bill. And we do know very well that in 2004, Kenya ratified the WHO's Framework Convention for Tobacco Control, which was a really major step. And in 2007, we had the Tobacco Control Act enacted. And several years down the line in 2014, we had the tobacco control regulations. So the last time we had regulations was in 2014. And throughout, then so many things have happened. And we have seen, as you have rightfully said, tobacco products have evolved. And we do support the bill as Harm Reduction Society. And what we are saying is that we need to back any law with science. And essentially what we are trying to say as Harm Reduction Society is that there are several key omissions that the bill left out, which we had already suggested. And we will discuss those key omissions that were left out. And back to your question, I want to answer it in a very simple way, in that these are products that are here with us, and these are products that have scientifically been proven to be less harmful. There is a lot of studies out there, and we are looking at smokers. These are products that have assisted smokers to quit. We know that tobacco or combustible cigarettes, is extremely harmful. It has more than 9,000 carcinogenic substances. And a lot of research has been done on some of these new products, like in the UK, in Japan, and so many other countries. And it has been shown beyond doubt that some of these products, like electronic cigarettes, nicotine pouches, are way safer for those who use cigarettes and can be used by those cigarette smokers to quit. What we emphasize on is, if you're not a user of these products, please don't start.
Why?
And yet, Michael, you look at regulation, and one of the strongest arguments for this bill is just to protect the young people. Your last words is, if you have not started, please don't start. So this is to then protect these young people from exposure to early nicotine use or addiction. Is the law going to, because I've seen this in other countries where you have regulation, but and you even have like packets with the very graphic images of lungs, very, very ugly images, but it still does not really deter these people from getting the same cigarettes. The bill is very strong on this, to protect these young people. So for those ones who have started or who are already smoking, it's maybe then to tell them the dangers, the carcinogenic elements that then will make somebody develop complications. But then, is prevention better? And is this bill going to be more active on the prevention side? Or what needs to be done?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm a consultant pediatrician, and I can tell you for free that nicotine is one of the most addictive substances that we have. And once the youth and children are exposed to nicotine very early in age, there is a very high tendency that they will get hooked to this nicotine product or the nicotine products. And we welcome the bill in its entirety, in as far as protecting the youth and children and those who do not use the products. It is of paramount importance to note that we need to protect our children. We need to protect our children from initiation of these products. But the question is, how will we implement that protection? We may have the law, but we must put into place adequate measures for the implementation of that law, the enforcement component, because we have very good laws. I mean, for example, in the current tobacco control regulations, you're not supposed to sell single sticks of cigarettes. But when you walk out there, people are selling single sticks.
Yes, they are.
So the question is, how do we strike a balance between this law and protection and making sure that there is good enforcement? And one of the ways we are doing as Harm Reduction Society is to educate the public, because you must give the public truthful information, so that they are aware and make informed decisions.
Okay, so my question is actually for Gashoka, but before that, there's something I need in terms of clarification. Shisha, which is very popular in bars, now you can see why the question is for Gashoka. Is shisha, does it have a combustible element when it comes to nicotine, or is it just,
Yeah, shisha in its form is a tobacco product.
It is. Okay.
And it's a combustible form of tobacco.
Okay.
And just to give in context, by the time you're done with the shisha session, it's like smoking 100 cigarettes.
One of those fancy urns with a pipe. You've done with that, you've smoked 100 cigarettes.
100 cigarettes.
Okay.
So it is a very harmful product. We do know that Kenya did ban shisha in 2017, but we also what happened thereafter.
Yeah. Okay, Gashoka.
Great.
Shisha is in any bar that's worth its salt today. That is going to bring in folks who will be interested in staying there for however many hours overnight, employs the use of this product. It's a drawer, So how then do we say that we're looking to regulate certain things for the health, safety of people if it is one of the very things that's banked on to bring foot traffic into some of these establishments?
Great. There's somewhere where I wanted us to start from. Then we come to shisha. There is a campaign on harm reduction, tobacco harm reduction. And this is what, Balita, we are embracing. In which case it's a public strategy that has come up to reduce the harm caused by tobacco or cigarettes. In this case, let's start from the deliveries. When people consume or when people smoke cigarette, what exactly do they look for? They look for nicotine. And the process of getting nicotine, there has to be combustion, there has to be smoking, inhaling and such kind of a thing. And this is now what causes all the other harms that Dennis is talking about there, printed on, that is the graphic health warnings. So now, some scientists, and a research was done on tobacco health, tobacco harm reduction, and they decided to come up with three things, among others. So there was the aspect of e-cigarette, there was the aspect of nicotine pouches, where the three things have been eliminated. In this case, there is no smoking, there is no aspect of combustion, which actually Dr. was talking about, the 9,000 carcinogenic harmful substance that are generated. And when that transition comes in, this act, Tobacco Amendment Act, we thought it was going to encompass the control, or it was going to enable an environment where we will reduce the risk caused by tobacco, by combustion, by a very great margin. So let's go to the shisha conversation. I don't know so much about it because it's a banned product and I don't want to discuss so much about it.
Well, it's banned on paper.
It's banned on paper, but it's not banned in the bar.
Yeah, and that's why we're here, because one of the things that we have with this regulation, with this Amendment Act, is we have so many good laws in Kenya. We have so many. The Tobacco Control Act is a very good law. It even talked about youth access. I mean, one can go to jail. There is a fine on it. There's very good punishment. But what happened about enforcement? The same case to shisha. What happened? It was banned. It is still there, and that's why we are saying that the issues that we have with Tobacco Amendment Bill, the bill that has been brought by the private member, is that we have laws. What is the problem? The problem is, even when shisha was being banned, there was an aspect, actually it was even challenged in court. There was an aspect of stakeholders' involvement, consultation. There was an aspect of public participation, but it was just given a blanket. That's why it's everywhere. And that's why we have an issue with this bill in terms of, you're bringing us a bill. We are the retailers. We are very close to the consumers. We have our own opinion that we feel that should be taken, but there was no public participation. Our opinion was, in fact, I can even say here confidently that my opinion was rejected. Our opinion as Balita, the 54,000 members that we have, were not given even a platform. We even looked for the private member to have a private conversation and share. And we've been denied that opportunity. And that is why we are saying, one of the things that is making us dispute this Tobacco Amendment Bill is lack of private participation and public participation. And let me tell you, it is very unfortunate when you use Senate's time to rush with this bill. This bill is being rushed at a very high speed that we are not even understanding what is the problem. I mean, it was tabled, it went through the second reading, and there was no committee report. Committee report is being brought as an afterthought after we've done a lot of engagement. Even the period, it started in August, before they went for recess, now they're coming for third reading. The public participation, the purported public participation that was done in Bunge Towers for 3 hours. Even us, by the time we were reaching there, we were not given an opportunity. We have given our submission. And that's what we're saying. We support this bill, and we support a process that will bring control to the new, safer alternatives, but let all the stakeholders be involved. I'm talking about my retailers. Because in this case, they're talking about coming up with a new license, a county license that will be, a new license that will come. This already beats the spirit of single business permit. I mean, we've even had matters in court in Nyandarua challenging the aspect of double taxation. I mean, so many licenses for the same thing. So now here, they're coming up with another bill that they're supposed to do licensing in Nairobi, that is for and then also push the same licenses to go to the counties. That is to affect my members. Now we're going to have a special license that will regulate tobacco. For what purpose?
So here, what I hear you speak is in terms of public participation and perhaps losses that you would inquire, or cost of doing business would go up. But I still want us to remain on the aspect of shisha and your role as Balit in ensuring that the laws and policies that have been put in place are actually upheld. Because we sit here and we say, fine, shisha we know is illegal, it has been banned, but Friday, you walk into a bar, it is there. What is your responsibility to your members to ensure that they play by the book, so that even when you come forth to seek participation, to be involved in this exercise, you already come from a point of goodwill?
First of all, let me say that Balita cannot replace the force and the duty, the public duty of the government. And that's what I'm saying. We have a lot of goodwill on any policy that comes in. But when a matter comes in and you are not consulted into it, there was no contribution, your contribution was not taken. You even wonder, like, at what point are you going to support it? Because the thing came and you're not involved as an industry. Your contribution, you had, on the issues of shisha, we had our own contribution on it. We had our own consultation on the minister was there, the CS was there then. We had our own legal team that raised the conversation on it. But it was rejected. That's the same way we are here on Tobacco Amendment Bill. We have our own contribution. We have our own submission. Public participation was not done. And that's why we are saying we feel as an association that, especially on Tobacco Amendment Bill, we are going in the wrong direction. There's no need of us rushing a bill, a very good law, or having an opportunity to improve on the controls of tobacco and nicotine products, and then rushing the bill and ignoring the industry. Then at the end of the day, this thing will be tied in court for years, and we will not have an opportunity again, a good opportunity like we have right now, of stakeholders consultation and having this conversation to talk about it, because the matter will be pending in court. So the same case, there was the issue of shisha, there was the issue of consultation, public participation, even one-on-one engagement. We were denied that opportunity. The same case with what we have right now. We've even gone ahead. I have a very funny story on how I have worked very hard as a leader of retailers of tobacco and alcohol to look for these members and have a conversation. And one time they told me, whatever you're doing is you're being pushed by someone. Then I said, you're talking about a bill that is running in the Senate that is supposed to protect the counties, and then the public participation is only done in Bunge Tower. So I was asking the opinion of the people, like what we've seen a lot of reaction in the whole country from different stakeholders in Kenya. We've seen a lot of media public outburst of the bill. And that's why we said, like, why don't we be given an opportunity to contribute, to give our opinion? Why don't we stop this bill? Okay, what is the rush for?
Okay, what's the motivation? Why are you not being involved in this?
We feel that we've seen the reaction on the amendment laws, because we were participated in GHW, the graphic health warnings, and we went even through public participation on the adjustment of the graphic health warnings, and the instruction was very clear from I don't know who, that pass the document without a comma. And let me tell you.
But even then there were issues.
Yes, we raised our issue.
Even in the negotiations, I remember clearly when there was that suggestion, there was pushback not to have those images there. Yeah.
There was no pushback. The issue was we had our own contribution. Like for retailers, for example, for us, for retailers in the whole country, we greatly and in a very great way participated in those public participation engagement. We were not refusing the whole thing, all the images. We were just saying this image violates the rights of women or men based on the pictures that were there. But this one, we are okay with it. But let me tell you, the document that was produced in the first instance and went through public participation is the same document without the change of a comma that came out of the process.
So there's a precedent here.
Yes.
So what's the motivation? That's my question.
And that's why we are saying now on these precedents, on DHW, because we kept quiet and we still have a right to go to court, and there's something we can do about it. We think and feel this is a precedent that has been set by, I think, the Minister of Health or something, that once they come up with a document, that document has to go through the way it is going to go through. And that is why now we feel as an industry, we feel as retailers, this is where we are going wrong, because some of the ideas that we want to share in are going to tighten the controls. Let me give you an example. Like, for example, youth access and online. We have a 2010 constitution that allows us to participate and remove this dictatorial tendency of pushing things into people. Example is Nepal. They came up and banned something. Part of what we're seeing in this law, some of the controls that we're seeing, is the CS is being given a lot of powers that even he can stand and ban the product. Look at what happened in Nepal. Stand, ban, we get into chaos. Now, in this business, the chaos that we're going to get into, we're going to push a lot of people into illicit. It happened. Let me give you an example. In South Africa, during COVID, they banned consumption of cigarettes. And let me tell you, within a short period, before they reinstated, they canceled the ban, the country had lost more than $2.5 billion US dollars. Up to date, they have never recovered in terms of illicit. Illicit in South Africa stands at around more than 70%. And that is exactly where we're going. If we don't give an opportunity for us who live with the consumers every day, Bashinani, we're the last people the last line, who are the retailers. If you're not given an opportunity to contribute to these bills, if our opinion and ideas are blocked from, in fact, there's even a day when I asked the private member person, why don't you give me an opportunity? Just listen to me. You are the owner of a baby. I'm not going to change your baby. I'm not going to steal your baby. Just listen to my ideas. I give you a few ideas, and then you feel if you will take them or not. Because if we don't do that, we are the last people. Let me tell you, right now as we are talking, illicit of cigarette is at 45%. This bill may increase that illicit to almost 60%.
So currently as it stands, why is that number that high?
It's the same case, Tobacco Act 2007. And the same way I'm telling you, we went for GHW. What was given in the first place, the opinion of the ministry was taken for public participation for cosmetic. It is the same document that was implemented.
Okay.
Now we're also on the same thing. Another very good document that we can add very creative and very nice ideas to improve it. We've been denied an opportunity.
Do price hikes, Terry, serve as deterrents vis-a-vis the medical or physiological dangers that are posed by the inhalation of combustible tobacco? For example, in Europe, we know very many countries, we can use this as an example and we can compare because the body is the same, right? And we know the dangers that it causes. We know the long-term effects of use of tobacco over time. Now we're looking at a physiological point of view. And the price controls that they brought in place were not because they wanted to press down on an economy, but that they said maybe this will serve as a deterrent. That if people have to spend more on a cigarette or whatever the case may be, then the likelihood of them using it more over time then would reduce, right? And then you could save somebody's health. But that doesn't seem to work, because if somebody's addicted, they're addicted, and they would go through whatever channels it would take to then use it. So yes, there's an economic side of things, but there's also the medical side of things. So now if we're sitting here in the middle and we say, if they're going to raise the price, or they're going to ban it completely, or they're going to change the advertising, or they're going to say, no, 60% of the packaging of a pack of cigarettes should not be about harmful messages on harmful, rather advertising with harmful messages. Does that deter from what you've seen? Does the packaging of the burnt lungs deter somebody who's addicted to cigarette smoking from smoking? Does it say that I'm not going to vape anymore because I've been told that these are what the harmful effects are if I've already become addicted?
Yeah, thank you. Historically, banning substances or raising taxes has never been proved to be a deterrent. And what is most critical is to come up with regulations and educate the people on the dangers of this. I'll give you an example. In the US, during the times of Al Capone, there were really a lot of banning of moonshine and all that, but the industry thrived. In South Africa, when they banned cigarette smoking during COVID, illicit.
That's how the black
trade.
market thrives, right?
Yes, that's how the black market. There were lots of black market products whose standards nobody knows. Raising taxes is one of the WHO's recommendations to deter people, but over time, it has been shown that it's not working. And this is simply because 80% of cigarette smokers are now currently in low and middle income countries, of which Kenya is one. And the numbers in low and middle income countries of people smoking is increasing, despite the component of raising taxes. And we evaluated this as Harm Reduction Society, and we said there are two key things that the Tobacco Control Act 2007 and these new amendments have omitted completely, and we have been raising these issues all along. When the Tobacco Control Act came into force, they lifted word for word from WHO's Framework Convention for Tobacco Control. But they omitted one key definition that was in WHO's FCTC, which is tobacco control. If you go to Article 1D of WHO's Framework Convention for Tobacco Control, it clearly defines tobacco control as a means or range of supply, demand, and harm reduction strategies. And when we raised that issue with the ministry and told them, why have we not defined tobacco control in our laws as defined in the WHO's FCTC? Because the component of harm reduction strategies is where the solution lies. You may do a lot of controls on demand, you may do a lot of controls on the supply side, but if you don't bring in the component of tobacco harm reduction strategies, then we will not achieve as much as we really want to achieve.
Does it therefore this speak in terms of a good idea that is not packaged in a manner that will bring out the maximum benefit for the citizenry? And if that's the case, perhaps, then what must be done to take us to the right direction?
Yes, we said from the word go, we must define tobacco control as defined in WHO's Framework Convention of Tobacco Control, so that we include the component of harm reduction. Harm reduction is very important in as far as tobacco control is concerned, and we have seen countries like the UK adopt harm reduction strategies. We have seen countries like Sweden who are on the verge of being declared smoke-free, and they are being declared smoke-free. Actually, they have, because they have applied harm reduction strategies to their cigarette smokers in Sweden to bring their smoking rates to less than 5%. And it is purely science, because harm reduction entails harm minimization, and most importantly, the second pillar of harm reduction is scientific evidence. You know, your laws must be based on scientific evidence. And the other thing that we have said, and we are not doing as a country, is to recognize the concept of risk continuum. Risk continuum is a concept in health whereby you say you categorize products based on their risks. Then now you're able to tell the population that a combustible cigarette is 100% risky, and these other nicotine products are 95% safer or 5% risky. And this is science. And we cannot ignore science in as far as regulation is concerned.
Yeah, I hear you speak, Daktari, but Boniface, we both agree that all this is beautiful in text. We will put this down on paper as policy, as law. But there is the next component that is equally important, even with public participation, if it happens. Now it is a question of implementation and enforcement, because that is where we go wrong. So let's take an assumption, a theory that all that we discuss in here have been included in the final text and the document that will then guide how we do things. How then do we move to ensure that those the responsibility of enforcing and implementing this text play by the rules?
Let me give you one of the most motivating factor is this. If we go through public participation, I just want to talk about the implementation and where it's going to be embraced. And the retailers, you can imagine my opinion as the leader of the retailers is given an opportunity, is taken 100%, 10%, 15%. But I feel that I own the document. I am motivated to go out there and train my retailers, to put resources, to call for industrial involvement, to call for my people, to mobilize them, to ensure there is compliance. And that is where there is a problem. That the problem we have with implementation, with enforcement, is when there is an academic paper that is being implemented without involving Kenyans. It is our right in the Constitution. And I think that is one of the spirit that motivated public participation. Then when we involve Kenyans into it, they own the document. Whether it's 10%, 5%, or even a discussion is done and then you're told that whatever you're proposing at this point, this is where we reject it, but here we can take it. We are involved. Our conversation is embraced. For sure, we will participate and own the document. There'll be no issues of, legal challenges later. There'll be an issue of understanding. Let me tell you, we've actually been looking at the UK Parliament where when someone comes with a bill, they defend it. They understand. They're examined to ensure that the law that they're bringing, it is in their heart. They talk about the way they have interacted with the retailers, with the people affected. And when everybody understands the law, they embrace it. And let me tell you, when such kind of a conversation comes in, there'll be a lot of goodwill in terms of even compliance, in terms of even adjusting our behaviors. There'll be a lot of goodwill in terms of even reporting to ensure that there is proper enforcement. But when something is created and you're still anti it, you're saying you need to add this, or when a law comes in that even you feel as industry, it cannot even be implemented. It's unimplementable. Or maybe the cost of implementing it, the adjustment is too big. That's why there is that civil disobedience. That's why there is no embrace. That's why there is even on the side of enforcement, because we've even seen in some quarters where some organization, they've come up to give their submission on how well enforcement can be done, and still the opinion was not taken. And these are experts in enforcement. So when such kind of conversations come in, and the business, the private sector, the people affected, their opinions are not taken, or even the aspect cannot even be implemented, that is where there's challenges on compliance and enforcement.
WHO, because you talked about the UK, this is WHO now, the Europe Tobacco Control Playbook. They say there's a case study and there's an argument here. And part of what they're saying is that the tobacco industry has consistently fought a lot of these measures and rules and regulations, falsely claiming they are ineffective, they harm retailers, or fuel illicit trade. But the evidence, WHO says, tells a different story. Research shows that pictorial health warnings are significantly more effective than text only, for example, text labels, especially for people with lower literacy or children. These warnings increase awareness of health risks and contribute to reduce smoking rates. My question is, because you've said the problem is when you're not involved, you're not coming to the table to be listened to. I have a question. Enforcement is the key word in this whole conversation. How do you propose this should be done?
First of all, for the tobacco amendment bill, we have our own proposals. I've talked about them. We need to be listened. Let me give you an example of some of a proposal. One of a proposal is the aspect of flavors. Tobacco amendment bill is going to ban flavors. That is their proposal. We are very close to customers. These flavors, we've even seen them live even on other people, even on me, that one of the strongest challenges that we have is the strength to addiction. And once people transit, we've even heard about Sweden, where they've even they have a 5% reduction. That's the 5% people. The world is headed towards non-combustible solution, towards safer alternative. That's where we are headed. So and one of the things that these safer alternatives are going to help, that is e-cigarette and nicotine pouches, they're going to help people move from combustion to non-combustible. But now, when we ban the flavors, now the taste of e-cigarette or vapes or what have you is going to taste tobacco. Are we really going to help them? There's an argument on it where the ministry says, and that's why we're saying, we are very realistic people and we are very honest in terms of this conversation. There's an argument to it that these flavors may be attractive or may encourage people to get into it. Now this is our suggestion. We're giving a suggestion, or our contribution towards this is we give flavors that are not children attractive. We give flavors that you cannot get them in candies, that you cannot get them in alcohol or other things, to ensure that we don't bring the aspect of children here. Mm-hmm. That is one of the proposals. The other challenge that we've seen is youth access and online. There's a lot of online engagement in liquor, Nakada bill, and even on tobacco. And one of the things that we are proposing, we're actually helping to strengthen this bill, is to ensure that we define proper youth access. Or we have restriction in terms of access, in terms of even, because what we deal with here is an adult conversation, is an adult consumable goods. So we don't feel there's any restriction if a retailer or if a customer comes to a retailer and is asked for an ID. What if that law defined it like that? But when it is silent, you're exposing my retailers into harassment, because anybody can come, buy. The same case to online deliveries. If you're going to deliver a good, let there be a law that will restrict
if I'm going to deliver a good to your place, you have to produce an ID.
If that's the argument, Dr. Kareki, let me rope you in on this. A few weeks ago, the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, this is in the UK because you're talking about non-combustible whatever, they said disposable vapes should be banned because of their popularity among children and young people. And they say partly thanks to their bright colors, number one, because if you're going to put strawberry flavor, the strawberry is not going to be black. It's going to be a bright color. It's red.
Yeah.
If you're going to put banana flavor, is yellow. These are all attractive, bright colors, sweet flavors. And then there are low prices. And then the other argument was because it looks fashionable in music videos, celebrities are using all these kind of things. So they're saying this thing needs to be banned. New Zealand has banned most disposable vapes as well as the sale of vapes in shops within at least 300 meters of schools. That argument that Boniface is bringing in terms of, okay, let's move away from this. Let's now then at least introduce this, but let's put regulation. How do you regulate this when already a banana is yellow, strawberry is red? You cannot, how do you regulate all this from being attractive to young people and children?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me just go back and give you some statistics by NACADA. The tobacco initiation age in Kenya is 6 years.
6
years. Our children are being exposed to tobacco as early as 6 years. And one of the reasons they find out is people or parents are smoking at home, in their family rooms. They are sending children to buy cigarettes. They are telling their children, go and light up this cigarette. So the tobacco initiation age is very early. So that tells you there is that population of children who must really be protected. And enforcement is key. We know tobacco is legal in this country. And what we really need, for example, I'll give you a very practical example. In Japan, you cannot buy an electronic cigarette without a prescription. It's a prescription-only product with very strict controls. So enforcement is possible, but we must come up with modalities on how to implement this enforcement, because the other solution, which will never work, is banning. Banning never works. It promotes so many things. And with the New Zealand and the Royal College of Pediatrics, indeed, research has been shown. And they are trying as much as possible to restrict the sale of these products to children, like the Japanese way, the way the Japanese are trying to do. And those are the regulations that we need. We need regulations that are able to protect the children, from the harmful effects. Even the user who uses, like